Okay, hey YouTube. So today's video is about Caitlyn Jenner and some of the remarks that she's been making, in the media over the last couple of weeks. So for those of you who sort of aren't familiar with kind of what's been going on, she's done a couple of interviews over the last few weeks with Matt Lauer on the Today Show, with Ellen on her show, where she's said some things that have kind of puzzled or even caused some outrage within the trans community and then also within the broader LGBT community. And so, for example, there has been a costume, a Caitlyn Jenner Halloween costume, that was kind of put out in the public, got some press, some people like that. A couple of stores actually agreed to take it off their websites and not sell it and things like that. Because a lot of trans people were sort of rightly upset that the fact that this isn't really seen as a Caitlyn Jenner costume so much as it is a costume for trans people. And so it's a little bit different than, say, dressing up as a woman for Halloween, because at that point, even if you do a bad job of drag and you are a poor representation of a woman, nobody really thinks that's kind of what women look like or how women behave, things like that. Whereas with Caitlyn Jenner, there is a lot of that criticism of the trans community, that we look like men in dresses, that we simply put on a wig and a unitard or whatever, and now voila, we're women, things like that. And so the costume is problematic in that it kind of reinforces those stereotypes and kind of makes her the butt of the joke. It's not really sort of honoring her, and it's sort of insulting to other trans women. And so it is fine for Caitlyn Jenner to have her own opinion on that costume. She certainly doesn't have to hate it or even, dislike it. But when she says to Matt Lauer and to the media that she's okay with it, she's not one of those trans women who gets all upset about pronouns and things like that, that sends some mixed messages to the mainstream, where she should have said or could have said, while I'm not necessarily personally offended by this costume, I can certainly see how the broader trans community would be, and as such, I think it's probably best that people don't buy it, don't wear it, and things like that. It's very easy for her to state her own opinion, maintain her individuality, while also being a good spokesperson for the trans community. She then went on Ellen and basically said that she's a traditionalist when it comes to marriage, that she didn't originally really support it and didn't think the word marriage should be involved, showing kind of her Republican views, which is something that I have discussed in the past and been confused by in the past, but something that is not really sort of new to the trans community, not new to the LGBT community. And she got blasted by that in the media. So Ellen then went on to Howard Stern and said, she's sort of confused how she could feel this way. A lot of people went on to even misrepresent that position and saying that Caitlyn Jenner actually opposes same-sex marriage, which isn't true. Maybe it took her a while to come around, and maybe her support is lackluster at best, although she did make some clarifying remarks kind of after the media shitstorm. But what was really interesting to me, sort of observing this all shake out, is how people like George Takei went and made posts kind of saying, she's certainly entitled to her opinion, but it baffles me. And then in the comments, so that post was liked something like 20,000 times. It received 5,000 comments in the first few hours, as most George Takei posts do. There was a lot of transphobic bullshit in there that George Takei did not condemn. He said, this isn't an invitation to troll or misgender, only after lots of people were tagging him and saying, what the fuck is going on here? He didn't edit the original post to put in that disclaimer. He made one comment 2 hours after the post was up, and I actually unfollowed him as a result, because I don't think this is the first time that he has been, less than kind of supportive of, trans people. Like, that kind of commenting should not be allowed, period, but definitely not on somebody who purports to be an LGBT activist, an ally to the trans community, and things like that. And really disappointed to see kind of people condemn those, Caitlyn's comments, and sort of saying that, well, if she doesn't support gay marriage, then I'm not going to support her gender identity and things like that. And that shows you that, well, guess what? The gay community is not 100% supportive, is not 100% behind trans issues. Yet here they are demanding that a trans woman who's 65 years old, who is relatively new to the LGBT limelight, speak correctly and, progressively about gay issues, when it was less than 10 years ago that Barney Frank and the Human Rights Campaign's executive director at the time said that a Gender Identity Inclusive Employment Non-Discrimination Act, or ENDA, would pass over their, and I'm quoting here, their dead bodies. So that's not exactly supportive, and this is an organization that now represents itself as championing the cause of all LGBT people. And to their credit, the HRC has come around over the last decade, but I guess Caitlyn Jenner kind of got 4 months, and I guess that's a long enough leash these days, to be hung in the court of public opinion. So I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I obviously don't agree with what Caitlyn has said in these instances, and I think she could definitely be a better spokesperson. I think she's going to improve over time. I don't think she should be considered or viewed as a spokesperson for the trans community. I even think she may have a little bit of a kind of savior complex almost. I think there are plenty of valid criticisms of Caitlyn Jenner and Caitlyn Jenner's politics. But you cannot criticize a trans person by misgendering them. That is just insulting. It is disgusting. And it is part of the problem. And so if you want to, call Caitlyn Jenner a hypocrite for not supporting same-sex marriage, while at the same time not supporting her identity or the identities of other trans people, then I think you need to look in the mirror.